Old Shuai was the owner of this morgue. That day, after finishing a funeral for a little child, he found a young woman sneaking inside. She said she was here to apply for the assistant job. Old Shuai gave a knowing smile, then eagerly began showing her around. The shelves here held thousands of old books, but they weren't filled with ordinary words. They were records written in blood and tears, the stories of his clients. Xiao Mei grew curious. She asked Old Shuai to tell her one of them. As he rose to his feet, the first story slowly began. A woman stepped into a bathroom. The moment she turned on the light, she noticed her hands were covered in sticky liquid. She brushed it off and sat down on the toilet, pulling out the wallet she had just stolen. After counting her spoils, she admired a delicate pocket watch and felt satisfied. Tonight had been a good night. But just as she was about to leave, her eyes caught the medicine cabinet hidden behind the mirror. She figured something valuable must be inside. A thief never leaves empty-handed, so she pried the lock open with her knife. She pressed too hard and sliced her finger. While wiping the blood away, the cabinet door suddenly burst open. A piercing scream filled the cramped space. The woman shoved her body against the door with all her strength, terrified of what she had just seen inside, a monster. For a moment, the cabinet fell silent. The woman called out, hoping someone outside would hear her, but no one came. She crept toward the door to escape when the stolen watch slipped from her pocket and hit the ground. The second the watch stopped ticking, she felt an icy breath on her neck. Countless tentacles whipped out and wrapped around her body. She tried to struggle, but her bones snapped in half, her breath cut short. The monster dragged her into the cabinet. The bathroom fell silent again. A single tentacle reached out and switched off the light. Old Shuai's story ended. Xiao Mei listened with interest, not the slightest bit afraid. That disappointed him. He reminded her that it wasn't just about the plot, it was about the meaning beneath it. Then he slid a labor contract across the table. Xiao Mei signed her name without hesitation. She laughed that this was nothing more than a story meant to scare kids from stealing. She asked for something scarier. Old Shuai led her to the hallway. On the wall hung a black and white photo, and in the center was Old Shuai himself. Xiao Mei couldn't help but ask, "Just how old are you?" He didn't answer directly. Instead, he began his second story. This time, the main character was Little Shuai, who had joined a fraternity called the Matthews Brothers. Their pride came from one thing: getting girls pregnant. Little Shuai was one of their stars. With his good looks and smooth tongue, he had already stolen the virtue of 66 women. One more, and he would become the leader. That night, he set his eyes on a new girl named Tianmei. He warmly invited her to the party. She agreed right away. Later that night, the two of them got very close. I won't say what happened. You already know. When Little Shuai woke the next morning, he felt refreshed. His back didn't ache, his legs didn't hurt. He felt strong. In the mirror, he saw Tianmei had written her number with lipstick. He wiped it away at once. To him, women were like clothes, never worn twice. But then he felt a wave of nausea. He rushed into the bathroom and vomited violently. A classmate stopped by and asked if he had used protection last night. Little Shuai grinned and bragged, "No." His classmate warned him to be careful, then left. Right after, Little Shuai dropped his pants and froze. A red rash spread across his stomach. Panic hit. He rushed to the hospital fearing he had caught HIV. But when the doctor read the return results, he froze in shock. At that very moment, strange noises rumbled from Little Shuai's belly. The doctor panicked, shaved off his gloves, and ran. When Little Shuai finally looked at the report, he was stunned. The paper said he was pregnant. Back home, his stomach swelled like a balloon filling with air. He knew this was linked to Tianmei. Luckily, the number on the mirror hadn't been fully wiped away. After many tries, he finally reached her. He begged to meet. She agreed and gave her address. By the time he arrived at her house, his belly was huge. Her parents helped him into a special chair and told him this was normal.
Little Shuai broke down. "What kind of family are you? Who told you it's normal for men to give birth?" Tianmei came downstairs, glanced at his swollen stomach, and scolded him. "Why didn't you use a wrapper last night?" He nearly wished he were dead. He begged and apologized, but it was too late. Her parents said the only option left was to deliver the baby. The words had barely left their lips when little Shuai felt a crushing pain in his groin. With a crushing scream, a baby tore its way out of his stomach. Tianmei's sweet mother took the child upstairs. And then, an eerie chorus of crying babies filled the attic. The sounds sent shivers down his spine. Xiaomei clapped her hands. She loved the story. She urged old Shuai to go on, but just then a coffin rattled, startling her. Old Shuai appeared silently behind her and led her to the specimen room. On the table lay a young woman's body. Her skin was eaten by sores, but her fingers still rang a ring carved with the words, "Till death do us part." Old Shuai began her story. Her name was Sister Kay. Her husband was a man called Little Fatty. Not long after their wedding, Kay fell ill and was left bedridden. She lost all awareness, surviving only through a breathing machine. At first, Little Fatty cared for her, but over the years, the suffocating presence of a dying wife wore him down. Every day he dragged himself from work to home. While others enjoyed life, he cooked her meals, bought medicine, and paid doctors. His patience drained away. One night, after venting his misery to the visiting doctor, he caught a hint in his words that stirred his heart. That night, he moved Kay to the dining table and placed a gift in front of her, a delicate rabbit figurine. She gave no response. In madness, he slipped poison into her food and fed it to her by hand. But right after she swallowed, her hand twitched.
Seeing her pain, Little Fatty panicked. He untied her straps and tried to make her vomit the food. But as he turned away, Ka's head dropped. The sharp figurine pierced his skull and blood poured out. Terrified, he called the doctor. But the doctor told him coldly, "Since she's dead, dump her body in the ocean. Let the fish eat it. Don't let the police find out." Little Fatty didn't want prison. He had finally freed himself of her. He wanted to enjoy life. So he stuffed her into the biggest box he could find. But her legs stuck out. Desperate, he chose to cut them off. Her scream echoed one last time. He dragged the box to the elevator, only to meet a neighbor. Guilty and scared, he forced the doors shut. But then, the elevator broke down. He couldn't call the police. He tried prying the door, but his body was too big. He turned and saw blood seeping from the box. He thought of the air vent, but it wouldn't open. The elevator filled with the stench of blood. His sanity snapped. He tore off his wedding ring and smashed it on the ground, cursing his marriage. That's when the box suddenly opened. The elevator dropped, plummeting far past the first floor, as if dragging him straight to hell. Ka's broken body crawled from the box. She picked up the ring and forced it back onto his finger. Dressed in her bridal gown, she clung to him tightly. Later, police arrived and found Little Fatty insane, cradling a wedding veil, muttering to himself. Xiaomei wasn't impressed. She said Little Fatty had already sacrificed so much for love, he hadn't really done wrong. Old Shuai disagreed. He said fate was already written. Good and evil always return. That was the truth he believed. He then led Xiaomei to the crematorium. He was about to cremate the child's body, but Xiaomei stopped him. She wasn't there to apply for a job. She had come to see this child one last time. Then she told her own story with the boy. To understand, you need to know about a notorious lunatic from the local asylum. She escaped years ago, killing children for fun. People called her the Tooth Fairy of the Swamp because she always kept one tooth from every child she killed. That woman was Xiaomei. She worked as a nanny. The boy in the coffin was her employer's son. That night, while she was babysitting, the parents left a message saying they'd be late and asked her to check on the boy upstairs. She found him asleep, then went downstairs to cook with loud music. On the TV, a newsflash warned of an asylum escapee. A killer was on the loose, but Xiaomei didn't hear. When she came back inside from taking out the trash, a bloodied man stood in the living room. She kindly tried to bandage him. Then the phone rang. The parents warned her again, "Protect our son." At the word son, the man's eyes changed. Before he could move, Xiaomei shoved his hand into a meat grinder, then stabbed at him with a knife. He knocked her down instead. Oddly, he called for help on the phone. Xiaomei lunged, bit off his ear, then passed out. She dreamed of the swamp tooth fairy slaughtering children. She woke in terror. Upstairs, noises stirred. Xiaomei raised her weapon and crept up. The man was already in the boy's room, but the boy was gone. The lights flickered, thunder roared. They fought again. After a brutal struggle, Xiaomei crawled out barely alive, but he pinned her to the floor. At that moment, the parents arrived, but the door was locked. Helpless, they pounded on it. Xiaomei seemed finished, until she gasped, "You're not the killer." The man froze, shaken. She seized the chance and shoved him down the stairs. Then she walked down, looked at him and said, "That's for ruining my dinner." By the time the parents came in through the back, the man was already a corpse. The bloody TV flickered to life, showing Xiaomei's picture. The truth came out. The man was the real nanny. Xiaomei was the swamp tooth fairy all along. The parents opened the oven. Inside was the charred body of their son, the same boy lying in the coffin now. Old Shuai finally understood. Xiaomei wasn't pretending anymore. She had come for the boy's last tooth. In real life, the bad guy wins. But the moment she stabbed Old Shuai, he rose again with a terrifying laugh. He said it was time for Xiaomei to take his place. She ran, but no matter what, she couldn't escape the house. Panicked, she stumbled into the library. Old Shuai appeared, striking the ground with his cane. Books fell from the shelves, each filled with the names of children Xiaomei had killed. Burned babies clawed their way up from hell, surrounding her. They bit her, tearing out their stolen teeth. Old Shuai calmly stitched her body back together. Then he straightened his clothes and walked out of the house. The truth was revealed. He was a monster too. Long ago, he had been trapped here by accident. The only way to leave was to find a successor. Now Xiaomei was bound to the house as its new keeper.